Down in the dungeon is all we know, where the shining light, we never go into the open. As far as you can see it, wasting there, a big bright destiny. Don't you feel like breaking free? Open your eyes, embrace what you see now. Don't you feel like cutting loose? Yeah, cutting loose, cutting loose. I'm alive.
Hi, and welcome to Run Tall with Tim. I'm Tim. I'm glad you're here and we get to spend a little time together, so thanks for tuning in. On today's video, I'm going to be giving you my thoughts on the newly released Hoka Rincon 3.
My mind stretched out on the canopy. My dreams getting bigger than you and me.
The Rincon 3 is an ultra lightweight daily trainer that can pretty much do it all. Hoka's made some changes to the upper, the midsole, as well as the outsole. But before I get into it too far, I always like to demonstrate what it looks like to run in the shoes that I'm about to review for you. So let's do that. But then when we come back together, I'm going to take a real deep dive into the Hoka Rincon 3 to try to answer that all-important question: is this the right shoe for you?
There's a heavy load upon my back, no way to throw it off. For a second I believe it's gone. I'm just a fool out of luck, standing on the open road, always with a heavy load. Don't let me carry it alone. I think my head is full of stone. There's not a whole lot I can do when all my visions have come true. There are times when everything feels great. I'm on top of the world, but eventually my spirit breaks. Can't get the final word. Standing on the open road, holding up my heavy load. Don't let me carry it alone. Feel like my
Now these are a neutral road shoe and I ordered them a half size down, and I would recommend that you do the same. Normally I wear a US men's size 9 and I ordered these in an 8.5 and they fit me perfectly. Now these are an ultra lightweight daily trainer. They came in at just 6.9 ounces. And again, that's for a men's size 8.5 or 195 grams. And they cost $115 US. Now, if you're new to the channel, I just want to take a minute and welcome you to the Run Tall family. Now, I post running shoe reviews, comparisons, and shoe battles weekly, but I also like to post other videos related to running as well. So if you enjoy watching running shoe reviews and other videos about running, be sure to subscribe to the channel and click the notification bell so that you'll be notified each time that I upload new content. So let's start by looking at the upper. Hoka used an engineered sandwiched mesh material. I found it to be really breathable. You can tell it's lightweight. This shoe is so light, it hardly feels like you're hanging on to anything. But there's lots of airflow. It helps keep you comfortable when you're out running. Those perforations are somewhat elongated, so it's more of a vented system. And they run back to about where the eyelet chain ends. But I found it to be really comfortable. And just kind of a side note, you may have noticed that in the videos or in that run sequence that I was running both on pavement as well as some hard packed dirt trails. but I run in the morning and sometimes I'm running through some vegetation that has a lot of dew on it. And these kept my feet relatively dry and comfortable. So I was impressed with that. It's something that came to my mind when I was out running about 5 miles into a 10-mile run that, hey, my feet are still pretty dry and comfortable. So I appreciated that. So good job, Hoka. Now these do run a little bit narrow up in the toe box, especially on the lateral side of the shoe. I didn't have any hot spots when I was out running, but I did notice that material kind of on the side of my foot. But again, I didn't have any blisters, so no big issues there other than it was something that I did notice. And I did feel like I got locked in and secure across the midfoot section of the shoe. It is a bit more narrow across the midfoot, so I think if you have a wider foot, these may not be a great fit for you. But they felt terrific for me. I do enjoy having a little bit more of a narrow midfoot because I like to have that good solid lockdown feeling all the way from my midfoot back to the heel cup. It did have a nice well-defined heel cup, so I felt pretty safe and secure when I was out running. I didn't have any heel slippage at all. So let's take a look at the eyelet chain. Now Hoka did a really good job up here at the start because I didn't have any bunching up in the toe box, and that can sometimes happen for me. Now they do have some plastic overlays on the outside of the eyelets, and that's to give you a little extra durability. So they kept the weight down but maintained some durability so you don't have to worry about your laces pulling through. And then you can see that they did add a little extra material on the inside cage as well. And they also included that extra eyelet in case you want to run with the runner's knot. Now the tongue has a minimal amount of padding. It's pretty much just material, so there's really not a whole lot of neoprene. You can see it does have a little bit of a plastic overlay here. Lots of perforations, which help keep it cool, but it's not gusseted, so you don't have any extra material there. The tongue does tend to want to slide down a little bit. It's just a little bit short. So I think either it's a little short or this notch is a little bit too deep because the laces do want to tend to ride up above where that notch is. So I would definitely recommend continuing to run your laces through that loop to help hold it in place. It does have these nice wide wings here up at the top, and it did lay nice and flat across my midfoot. But again, it does tend to want to creep down a little, or your laces want to creep up just a little bit above that notch. Now the padding around the heel collar and the tab, I'd say is a moderate amount. Plenty there to help keep you comfortable when you're out running. And it rests mainly at the top of the collar as well as on the tab of the shoe. And that just helps to define that heel pocket that I mentioned earlier. Again, no heel slippage, felt really comfortable. And I attribute part of that to the heel counter design. Here you can see it's a traditional heel counter design. So it doesn't have that big Achilles heel flare that a lot of shoes are featuring today. They did include a pull tab to help get your shoes on should you wish to use it. Now the insoles do come out fairly easily, but they are tacked in and they are really thin. They're almost paper thin, so there's not a lot of extra comfort that you're going to get out of the insole that they included. But they still are very comfortable. I didn't find the need to replace the insole in this version of the shoe like I did in the original version. And I might talk about that here at some point in time, maybe if I do a comparison with the original versus the V3. But you can see that it's only, again, lightly tacked in. That one little spot of glue that you can see there, that was the only thing that was holding it in. So if you do enjoy replacing the insoles with maybe a more customized one for your fit and feel, you can do that fairly easily. Looking at their midsole, now Hoka has their compression molded EVA foam. They have a fair amount of it. They got 29 millimeters stackated in the heel and 24 millimeters up in the forefoot for a 5 millimeter offset from the heel to the toe. That's pretty typical for Hoka. Now they do have somewhat of an aggressive heel bevel back here, and they have their early stage meta rocker, which means that they start sculpting that foam or they start that curvature of your forefoot right about at the start of your metatarsal head. All of that creates a nice smooth transition as you strike the ground and move through your gait cycle. Now, according to Hoka, they did change or tweak the compression molded EVA foam that they have in version 3 of the shoe, in part to address some of the concerns that runners have had in the past with their earlier versions, that the foam felt like it went dead after about 100-150 miles. So we'll see if the changes they made will have increased the durability of that midsole material, but a lot more testing to come. Now the midsole foam is soft, cushioned, fun to run in. It's not a max cushion shoe, but there's plenty of cushion there to help keep you comfortable when you're out running, protect your feet. Some of the changes that they did make included this cutout here. Now this gives you a bit more of a squish factor. I just feel like my midfoot, my heel is kind of squishing down a little bit more. Maybe not quite the pop or the trampoline effect that I got in the earlier version of the shoe. And I think just because it's a little bit wider, it squishes down just a little bit more, and I don't seem, or doesn't feel like I get quite as much energy return out of that trampoline effect as I did with the original version of the shoe. So here you can see that, it's much more narrow, that cutout is, that they have in the first version compared to what they have in the Rincon 3. So let's flip these over and we'll take a look at the outsole and some of the changes that they made here. Hoka did add some blown rubber to that compressed EVA foam that they have in their midsole to add some durability to it. Kudos to them, because I think they got it right this time. Just about the right amount of rubber. I don't think that they overdid it. And here's why I'm going to tell you. This is why I think that. So this is the newest version of the shoe, and you can see that now they have rubber in all of the forefoot areas and the area in the compressed EVA foam that would have any kind of ground contact. And they continue it all the way down. Now this is kind of that line between your forefoot and your midfoot. And then of course they have it there around in the heel. Again, all of those high abrasion areas where you'd expect to see some wear. And why do I think that that's important? Why that's such a big deal? Well, let me show you the first version of the shoe. Now, in the original version of the Rincon, I have over 500 miles on these shoes. So if you look at where those wear patterns are, up here where they added the rubber, you can see that that foam is pretty much all been just wore away. And then in the kind of that midfoot to forefoot line area where it kind of divides that line, you can see where that EVA foam is just wore right down to nothing, where there isn't any kind of rubber. So this is where they added that extra rubber material, right where I need it the most, because the EVA foam back around in the more in the midfoot to heel area still seems to be fairly intact. And again, these shoes have over 500 miles on them. So I think that they hit just the right areas when they brought that extra outsole rubber down around onto that midsole to protect it. I think that it's going to give this shoe a lot of additional miles. So if that EVA foam holds up and doesn't go dead after 150 miles, I think these are going to last quite a bit longer. So overall, I think Hoka made some really nice changes to the Rincon 3. They're small tweaks, but they make a big difference. That new upper material is lightweight, it's breathable, somewhat water resistant, at least for me anyway. So I find that to be really comfortable. It has a nice solid lockdown feeling across the midfoot section, in part because it's a little bit more narrow in that area. It has a nice solid heel pocket for you to set in, well defined. I didn't have any heel slippage. The tongue is a little bit short. It could be a little bit longer in my opinion. This EVA compressed molded foam that they have in the midsole is still soft. It's fun to run in. A little more squish, I think, back in the heel area, just because of that cutout. It's a little bit wider than what they've used in the past. And they added the additional blown rubber in all of the right areas to give it some extra miles and durability. I think these are worth the $115 that they're asking for them. It's a good overall daily trainer that I would recommend you adding to your shoe rotation if you have the ability. Hey, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I enjoyed making it for you. As always, run tall, run strong, be kind to one another. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.
Don't come around and waste my time. A generation of my time.